media who's asked me since November, Bill, what do you have to say about Stan Lee? And every paparazzi outside a restaurant who's still shouting at me, Bill, what about the Stan Lee thing? Okay, your day has come. Tonight's editorial is about Stan Lee, who, if you missed it, died in November. And a few days later, I posted a blog that was in no way an attack on Mr. Lee, but took the occasion of his death to express my dismay at people who think comic books are literature and superhero movies are great cinema, and who in general are stuck in an everlasting childhood. Bragging that you're all about the Marvel Universe is like boasting that your mother still pins your mittens to your sleeves.
With the recent anniversary of Stan Lee's death, and his birthday coming up after Christmas, a Bill Maher clip popped up in my algorithm recently with a little segment called New Rule, Grow Up, where he bashed comic books unmercifully, and, well, to use the colloquial, it kind of stuck in my craw. Even though I'm a fan of Bill and of the show, this was something I couldn't just let go of, and I'd like to address it today in a little segment I like to call Everything You Said Is Wrong. Well, to quote the great Stan Lee, face front, true believers. And another great quote from Stan, he would repeat when visiting college campuses and talking about comic books was, if Shakespeare and Michelangelo were alive today, and if they decided to collaborate on a comic book, Shakespeare would write the script and Michelangelo would draw it. How could anybody say that this wouldn't be as worthwhile of an art form as anything on earth? It's bizarre to me that you would be so easily dismissive of what many scholars now call one of the two great American art forms. The first being jazz, which was invented by black musicians in New Orleans, until, of course, it found its rightful home in Utah. The second great American art form is naturally comic books, which was a storytelling medium created during the Depression for the lower classes, a storytelling medium of which all of the founding fathers are Jewish Americans. Stan Lee, the creator of Spider-Man and the Avengers, his real name is Stanley Martin Lieber. He changed it, of course, to avoid discrimination. Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, the creators of Superman, Jewish Americans. Will Eisner, the creator of The Spirit and the graphic novel, Jewish American. These men also served in World War II. Stan Lee in the Signal Corps and later the U.S. Army Training Film Division, where he wrote manuals and slogans. Will Eisner was drafted in '41 as a warrant officer and created instructional comics for Army Motors and other military publications. And Jack Kirby, the creator of Captain America, his real name is Jacob Kurtzberg. Well, Jack Kirby topped them all. He didn't just create Captain America, he was Captain America. In World War II, Kirby served in the U.S. Army with Company F, 5th Infantry Division, landed at Omaha Beach during the D-Day invasion in Normandy. Later in the war, he served as a recon scout, advancing ahead of his unit into enemy territory to sketch maps, to draw recon illustrations of positions and people, and report back, obviously under extreme danger every second. Jack Kirby also helped with the liberation of a concentration camp subcamp near Erlsbusch, Germany. He was awarded the Bronze Star and suffered severe frostbite in both legs during the Battle of the Bulge. He almost had them amputated. After returning home, Jack Kirby created the Fantastic Four, the Incredible Hulk, the Mighty Thor, the X-Men, Iron Man, Daredevil, the Silver Surfer, the New Gods, and Mr. Miracle. As far as superhero comics being profound, Jack Kirby had this to say: we all have our personal heroes. I think that's good for us. I think that balances life. It gives us the kind of balance we need. If we had reality all the time, I don't think we could take it. CBS News reported this month that New York City is considering naming a street after Jack Kirby, and I, for one, think it's long overdue. Escapism has always been at the heart of storytelling. That's also true of books and movies. Bill, you gave your reading recommendations. Here are some comic books you might have missed. Mouse, a comic book by Art Spiegelman about his father surviving the Holocaust, which won an award. It was a Pulitzer Prize in the category of literature. Mouse chronicles Spiegelman's interviews with his father, Wladek, a Polish Jewish survivor of Auschwitz, Dachau, and the Warsaw Ghetto. Spiegelman uses metaphorical animal allegories. Jews are drawn as cartoon mice, the Germans are cats, the Poles are pigs, the French are frogs, and the Americans, you'll love this, are mutts. It brings the experiences and lessons of the Holocaust home in a powerful way. Of course, it's now banned in some school districts in Tennessee. Perhaps you'd also like Persepolis, written and illustrated by Marjan Satrapi. It's a memoir of her childhood in Iran during and after the 1979 Islamic Revolution. It chronicles her life growing up and around the Shah's overthrow, the rise of the Islamic Republic, and the Iran-Iraq War. We see everything through Margie's eyes. Readers witness the erosion of personal freedoms, the impact of religious fundamentalism, and her family's defiance of oppressive regimes. Now banned in Iran, Lebanon, and school districts in Chicago and Philadelphia. Or perhaps you'd like Zodiac by Chinese artist and dissident Ai Weiwei. It chronicles both his childhood growing up alongside his father, a poet who was banished to the Gobi Desert by the CCP and forced to clean toilets at a labor camp as part of a humiliation ritual. And it segues to Ai Weiwei's own experiences being under surveillance and beaten by the Chinese secret police until his own imprisonment for being critical of the government. Each chapter of the book centers around a sign of the Chinese zodiac, and like Mouse, it invokes a lot of its power through symbolism. This comic book was highly acclaimed by NPR and the New York Times. Of course, it's now banned in China. In fact, everything about Ai Weiwei is banned in China. The authorities won't even let the Chinese search his name on the internet. Perhaps you'd enjoy The Infidel by Bosch Fawstin. It's an unapologetic critique of jihadism and Islamic extremism through the lens of the superhero Pigman, created by Fawstin, who left Islam after 9/11. The story is about an ex-Muslim vigilante clad in leather, waging a one-man war against jihadists who cannot touch him back because he's wearing pigskin. Fawstin's work gained notoriety after he won the 2015 Mohammed Cartoon Contest in Garland, Texas, which led to a terrorist attack for which the Islamic State claimed responsibility. For his courage and candor, Bosch Fawstin was permanently banned from Twitter in 2018 and Facebook in 2022. Bill, in the past you've expressed concern about the rise of anti-Semitism on college campuses, the malinformed naivety of groups like Queers for Palestine, and the stupidity of modern young Americans calling for Marxism and global intifada. Perhaps reading these firsthand real-life experiences of people who have actually experienced genocide, Sharia law, beatings, and imprisonment at the hands of state police could help shake loose some of the ignorance. I'm not saying comic books are a panacea, but reading more is almost always a step in the right direction. Ray Bradbury expressed a positive view of comic books as a medium that shaped his storytelling skills. In a quote, he said, Comic strips introduced me to metaphors. They are pure metaphors, so you learn how to tell a story with symbols, which is a very valuable thing to learn. Stephen King wrote, "Comics are a great way to bring the vivid imagery of my stories to life, capturing the creepy and fantastical in a way that's immediate and visceral." Quentin Tarantino, in a '94 interview with the Comics Journal, said, "I've always been a comic book fan. I love the way they tell stories visually, the energy, the way they can be both pulpy and profound at the same time." He continued, "Comics taught me how to pace a story with the kind of raw, in-your-face energy that I try to bring to my movies." In 2015, Quentin Tarantino wrote a sequel to the movie Django in the form of the comic book series Django Zorro, a comic book written by an Italian American about a Black American and a Latino teaming up, with the cover art done by comic superstar artist Jay Lee, a Korean American. It hardly gets more American than that. You said comics are for kids. I can almost let this one go. After all, it's not entirely your fault, just as Walt Disney's popularity in animation has created the perception that animation is only a children's entertainment vehicle. Similarly, the popularity of superhero comics with American audiences has given people the notion that comic books only contain superhero stories. I get it. There are a lot of never-ending superhero books that are basically soap operas for young men. But as we've seen, not all comics are like that. In Italy, you can find comics at every corner newsstand, and they have adventure, fantasy, science fiction, historical, romance, horror, westerns, and they even have Batman. And for some reason, Donald Duck comics are huge over there. Italians cannot get enough of Donald Duck. Go figure. Meanwhile, in France, they've led the way with many great artists and writers over the decades. In fact, France has been giving out the Fave d'Or Award since 1976. It's kind of like the Oscars, but for comic book creators. And that's an award that's fully funded by their Ministry of Culture. In Japan, they have multiple award shows for their comic book creators. The Tezuka Osamu Cultural Prize is widely regarded as the highest award in Japanese comics or manga. And it was established in '97, while the manga awards are fully funded through Japan's Ministry of Culture and the Japan Foundation. In America, there is only one place to buy comic books these days, at the local comic shop, where you might run into Kevin Smith. In Japan, however, you can buy comics at the comic book store, the bookstore, the grocery store, the drugstore, the gas station, the electronics store, the appliance store, the toy store, the laundromat, the barber shop, the ramen shop, the capsule hotel, and if that's not enough, they even have vending machines on the streets and in the subway stations selling comics. Now, Japan has a functional literacy rate of 90%, compared to roughly 80% in the United States. And in the last international student tests, Japan scored 5th and 4th in science and math, while the United States ranked 34th and 28th. Go team! It could just be coincidence, but I doubt it. There's something to be said for a culture and a people that spend their hard-earned money on paper stories that you hold in your fingers and then read. It's the one addiction Americans need more of. You've expressed concern also about the state of young men. The lack of sex among men in their 20s, the lower and lower number of men attending colleges and universities. Last year, in one Atlantic article, Columbia professors expressed dismay at their elite students' lack of reading comprehension. Many students no longer arrive at college, even highly selective elite colleges prepared to read books. Anthony Grafton, a Princeton historian, said his students arrive on campus with a narrower vocabulary and less understanding of language than they used to have. There are always students who read insightfully and easily and write beautifully, but they are now more exceptions. Jack Chen, a Chinese literature professor at the University of Virginia, said he finds his students shutting down when confronted with ideas they don't understand. They're less able to persist through a challenging text than they used to be. And Daniel Shore, the chair of Georgetown's English department, said that his students have trouble staying focused, even on a sonnet. As a father and as a teacher, I can tell you, getting kids to read and read more is all about them finding something that fascinates them. If the book has writing and artwork at the same time, they get to appreciate two things at once.